Welcome to the LFG Pats Pod with your hosts, Joe and Mike. Let's go!
All right, welcome back into the LFG Pats Pod. This is the 6th episode, and Mike and I have a lot to talk about, as always.
6th episode.
Always have a lot to talk about, even in the off-season. So we have a few things to talk about. We have the OTAs, which there's some interesting things that have come out of it, and Mike and I are really excited, and a lot of people are saying the sky's fallen and all kinds of fun stuff. But we have that. We'll try to keep that brief. And then we have a roster breakdown. So this is going to be fun because we have the roster sitting at about, 91 players, Mike?
91, yeah.
And so we're going to cut that down to the 53. Now, this is obviously way too early. There's a lot of information that we're missing, right? A lot of practice reps.
Everybody else is doing it. Why can't we?
Yeah, why not, right? So we want to take a look at the whole roster, top to bottom, front to back, all the good things. And, how we're going to do it is we're basically going to give you who we think is going to make the actual 53, who's going to make the practice squad, and then who we feel are good either cut or trade candidates where we can get some value. We're going to keep a running tally throughout the whole episode, so we'll let you know where we're at as far as once we get done with the running backs and the receivers, where are we at with the active roster versus the practice squad, which we can have 16 players in the practice squad if you didn't know that. And yeah, so we'll keep it fresh and we'll keep it moving. But before that, a word from our sponsor.
Rogue Island Local Kitchen and Bar in Providence, Rhode Island offers a fresh take on new American cuisine. We have a focus on locally sourced ingredients with over 55 local craft beers and expertly crafted cocktails. We're the perfect spot for foodies and drink enthusiasts alike. Follow us on social media at Rogue Island for daily specials and upcoming events you won't want to miss.
All right, guys, welcome back. So if you haven't noticed, I actually forgot to put my headset on. I think I'm like Warren from Something About Mary. I don't know, the headset on both ears. Anyways.
Franks and beans, right?
We're going to talk about OTAs. So first things first. Mike, I think it was Drake Maye that threw 4 interceptions in a practice.
Yeah, he's the jury is back in. He's not qualified to be an NFL.
I don't know what we're going to do.
I
think it's a time to give a look at Josh Dobbs. Maybe call the Cowboys back. I think we need to bring back Joe Milton.
As is the constant news cycle of criticism, gloom and doom. Everybody wants to freak out about him doing that on the first day of OTAs, which I say, good. You want to do that. You want to push the envelope.
Yeah.
You want to try to make plays downfield. It's the first day of OTAs. Nobody cares except for the media and the fans.
Exactly.
So what you guys got going on over there is inconsequential to the way that we react. Two things don't match up.
Fans, you have to act like you've been here before. And it's every year, right? We go through this every single year.
Well, we also have a fan base now that is probably younger and have seen more failure than we're used to,
True.
We're used to coming off a 20-year dynasty, and some of these other kids just saw like the last Super Bowl, the last 2 Super Bowls. So the team has been as bad for as long as it's been good. So I understand that side of it, but we just have such a broad view historically of this team,
right?
To know what happens and what doesn't, especially on the first day of OTA, what to take away and what not to take away. Now there are takeaways. That just isn't one of them.
Exactly, and it's like this goes back to Jamar Chase's rookie season. But remember, it was, can Jamar Chase catch NFL footballs? Remember that one?
Yeah. It's always some stupid thing that
you can catch the college balls, but the NFL ones, he's having real troubles.
Yeah, he's had trouble.
Yeah, I wish we had him to have those troubles.
He's had a whole lot of trouble with that NFL football, I'll tell you that much. But there's always stuff that comes out. It's still the silly season because we're all starved for information.
Exactly.
So any information that we do get, we try to overanalyze and read into and read between the lines when it's just an OTA practice. You know what I mean? They're literally, everybody's feeling each other out.
Installing a new offense.
Yeah,
new players everywhere.
It's new verbiage for Drake Maye. It's going to take a while for him to get it down, but once he does, this offense is going to be tailor-made to suit Drake Maye's strengths, because that's what Josh McDaniels does.
Right.
He accentuates all the things that he does have on his team, as opposed to, look at what he did pivoting from Brady and then to Cam Newton.
Yeah.
He turned that into an RPO offense.
Yep.
And that was a shell of Cam Newton.
Exactly.
But their RPO offense was still incredibly effective. And he had never done that ever, So it speaks to the versatility of Josh McDaniels. So it's going to, but the system is big.
Yeah.
The playbook and
it's installments.
Yeah, the terminology, installing all that terminology is a bear. Drake's learning a different language than what he was, but he'll definitely get there. There's just a lot to take in. But once he does, the McDaniels offense is designed to have answers to the test. If you take one thing away, you have a backup option at all times. You always have a fail-safe in case, break glass in case of emergency. He always has some kind of outlet to bail the quarterback out, which is why Tommy was so brilliant for so long. He knew he had a mastery of that system.
Yeah, it didn't matter who was back there, right? You had, was it Redding? You had James White, you had Kevin Falk, you had all these names, all these outlets where McDaniels makes sure that he's going to leak some guy out. Yeah. There's going to be a situation where it's a receiver or it's a running back or a fullback. We got...
Teaser, I got a fullback on our roster.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him. I think he's great. But anyway, so that was one of the things, the one great highlight that nobody seemed. I checked the interwebs, I checked the dark web, I checked every source I could possibly look at. Javon Baker apparently one-on-one with Gonzo scored a deep touchdown. I mean, I would love to see it. I mean, between him and Jalen Polk, you want to see one of them work out. Obviously, Ladd McConkey is going insane and will continue to do that. So hopefully one of these guys pans out. But so that was one big thing. Efton Chism, our boy, is apparently doing great. I saw a few plays. He actually was running a little kind of crisscross pattern with Javon Baker, and I think his route looked a lot smoother. Ended up getting the ball. I mean, these are all little tidbits, but interesting stuff. Pop Douglas, I shared a post on X where he really took the ball to the house, and granted it's in shorts, and Drake Maye's throwing the ball against nothing, but some things that we're seeing that I think anything else, Mike, you want to add?
So yeah, as OTAs taketh and giveth away, we're all gloom and doom about Drake Maye's 4th interceptions, but by the same token, we can see this stuff and we can read too much into that as well.
Right, exactly.
Javon Baker winning one rep, we're excited about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it goes both ways.
There's a little bit of a double standard involved there, but we mainly just like to focus on the positive. So those are the things that I like to talk about. But yeah, I mean, attendance has been great. You have a couple of issues. Ramondre Stevenson has been out, and he might be out for a foreseeable while. I'm not sure. I mean, his dad passed, I think, in March. So he's been dealing with that. Some other guys, Stephon Diggs isn't ready to go yet. Mac Hollins wasn't ready to go. Mac Hollins was there. I don't think Diggs was there. But yeah, it's just Maye having a short memory. He came right back, and he started lighting it up after he threw all those picks. We have all kinds of competition at every position, but especially with the offensive line, there's a lot of bodies, and there's basically going to be a competition at left guard, and there's a handful of guys that could potentially win that job. So to me, that's a pretty interesting one. And like you said, the rookie wideouts, they've been playing well. Chism and Kyle Williams have been impressing, even in the rookie minicamp and now in OTAs. So we're high on those two rookies, but overall, it's just nice to be able to get reporting on these things, because a lot of times Belichick would try to make it as closed as possible. Yeah. So we're getting more access than we've historically been used to getting. We got Forged in Foxborough. Do you think Belichick would ever have let a camera inside of his draft room?
Oh, God, no. We know that.
Yeah, because I would have ripped it to absolute shreds when I saw his big board and how many people weren't on it. So the level of access we're getting is great, because we love to talk about this stuff. So OTAs are good. We're ready to get it going. I mean, it's going to be tough after this, until training camp. So
yeah, of course.
We're going to try to fill the void. But no, we're feeling pretty good about camp right now.
Yeah, and I think the Forge and Foxborough episode, I think a lot of people were like ho-hum about it. But first of all, it's the first episode. If you guys have watched TV at all, a lot of these things are a lot of setup. You had to talk about Vrabel and that transition of power and what he means to the organization. So it was a whole first half, which I thought was great. I mean, I'm a mega fan of him. And then you talk about the pre-draft process, which obviously they were at the Senior Bowl there. They were scouting Kyle Williams.
Very informative to see how these guys interact with each other. The three guys, Ryan Cowden, Elliott Wolf, and Mike Vrabel, those three guys seem to have a really good rapport with each other. And it was nice to see that, the dialogue back and forth with them, both on visits and during the draft in the draft room. So it was an intriguing glimpse into how the operation's working now.
I learned something. I thought for sure that this was Vrabel's show entirely and Elliot Wolf was taking a back seat, and it's not the case.
Elliot Wolf isn't going anywhere.
Nope, he is not.
All.
He is not. He is a part of that nucleus.
He ran the show.
Yeah.
He had the final thing.
Yep.
He was the one making all the phone calls. He set everything up. He was the one dealing with the trades on the phone.
Exactly.
So.
And he took all opinions, right? He's sitting there looking left and right. What do you guys think? I think we should sit. I think we should do this. And just it was a masterclass. It really was.
It seemed like a very collaborative effort, and I don't think it was like that with Belichick at all. I mean, scouts would get so mad because they'd work all year, and he would just throw all their work out because some guy interviewed well.
Yeah, the Jared Wilson pick was awesome. You got that young NFL scout that was just
right.
he liking obviously to Jared Wilson, scouted him as much as he could, and he said, "Look, this is it. This is the time. Do it." And he looked at Elliot Wolf, and Elliot Wolf was without pause.
Right
all
on
right,
it.
take him.
It was a fantastic pick. It was great value.
Yeah. So I thought it was great. I mean, again, this is where we're in the offseason. The Celtics just lost. The Red Sox, who knows what they're going to be. And, the Bruins are what they are at this point, too. So I think you got everyone, chomping at the bit. So you put something out and, your worst critics are going to come out, and it is what it is.
Well, when you frame it like that, all of a sudden, just like this, the Patriots are back as the draw in the Boston sports market. We just suffered a devastating tragedy with the Celtics. The Red Sox are a mess. They cannot seem to get themselves together. And the Bruins are heading for a rebuild.
Full blown, yeah.
So
luckily that Marchand ended up winning that game, so we ended up getting a first-round pick for it. But
yeah. So the Patriots, they're the team right now that's like on the upward trajectory. That's a young, hungry team with a franchise quarterback and a good coach. So I think that's going to dominate most of the airwaves as far as Boston sports in general. So I think we're in good shape with that. I'm pretty happy about it.
I agree. So more to come on OTAs. They're taking a break today. I think they're back tomorrow, and then they're back Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then they kick off into June as well. So we're going to stay locked into that, glued in. I shared a Lan Larison. If anyone didn't see the Lan Larison post that I put up, as far as, he's got this stash, he's got this Kenny Powers-esque kind of mullet going off, curly mullet thing going on. I mean, I was just like, this guy's juice. He's ready to go.
The curly mullet.
It was very funny because I just started watching Eastbound and Down again.
Yeah, that show's awesome.
It's so good. And then you just look at that picture and you're like, man, this kid. So anyways, didn't see many highlights of him, but I only saw highlights of Travion Henderson from the running back group, so I'm sure that'll shake out differently. But all right, so let's get into the actual roster now. So we got 91 players, like I said. We're allowed 53 on the active roster, and we're allowed 16 on the practice squad. Now, there is one kind of little nuance. We have one player that's an international transfer, I believe, Mike.
Yeah,
and
Wilfred Penny's a defensive lineman.
So you get an exemption there where he doesn't count against the practice squad roster, correct?
Indeed.
And so, but we're going to, like I said, we're going to go position by position. Mike's going to give us the breakdown. We'll both kind of glean some insight into it, and we'll keep a running tally against the active roster and the practice squad. Let's just start out, Mike. I mean, I think just top to bottom, how do you feel?
I feel good. I like the roster. I like the roster construction. There was a couple of tough cuts in here that I had to reconcile, and a couple of scenarios like that we might be better off trading somebody or just flat out releasing somebody. So it's going to start off pretty easy, but as we get into the weeds with more of the in-depth competitions, we might get more into it. But as for right now, just like he said, we're going to do a tally. We're going to come up with a complete roster projection and a practice squad projection by the end of it. So we can just start with the quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks, there's 3 on the roster right now: Drake Maye, Josh Dobbs, and Ben Woolridge. Ben Woolridge was the undrafted free agent that they signed as basically, like I said, a practice arm, a scout arm, stuff like that. And the big caveat for all this is when we do this again in training camp, half of these names might be different.
Right.
They might not, but some of them might actually change. So this is just what we think would be the best course of action for them right now. Right. And when training camp comes
around, it's a snapshot.
And when training camp comes around, we will readjust and reassess all that. And we'll do it then, but it's, like I said, it's a fun exercise to do. So we're doing it. We get the quarterbacks, 3 of them. It's pretty straightforward here, right? I mean,
it's the least entertaining part.
They went very far out of their way to make sure that there's no question who the man is.
Yeah.
getting rid of Milton, not drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, that was key, and I was kind of beating the drum a little bit on Quinn Ewers. I'm like, oh, can we take him late? And it's like they're like, no,
Seventh round, like I was figuring they'd take a flyer on somebody, but I didn't care who it was.
Right,
I really didn't. So this guy is the same as some of those other late round guys that went. But so you're going to have 2 guys on the roster and then 1 guy in the practice squad. Drake Maye and Joshua Dobbs is obviously going to be his backup, and that's another reason why it's a great signing, because he's going to mentor Drake Maye. The guy, he's been on 6 or 7 different teams.
Right.
He knows a lot of different systems. He's a rocket scientist. He's like an aerospace engineer degree.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this guy, he's a very cerebral guy. That's the perfect person to be in the room with Drake. And then you got the practice squad guy. So right now that puts 2 guys on the roster and 1 guy in the practice squad.
Perfect.
So, yeah, we can move right along to the running backs. Joe, you want to do the running backs?
Yeah, sure. So the running back room is very interesting to me. There's a lot of talent. And now with obviously Ramondre kind of, doing a personal thing on the side with, his father passing away, they had to bring in another body. So they brought in Travion Williams, who I think is a great, depth piece. He's, more of a scat back. He's not not a between the tackles kind of guy.
He's mostly a returner. They use him a lot in return.
Yeah, so you got him playing a partial role on offense, maybe at some point, and then really what he is more of a depth piece. But Ramondre is a roster lock unless something happens. Travion Henderson, obviously, that goes without saying. Antonio Gibson, I think he played very well last year in some tight spots.
He outplayed Mondre.
Yes, flat out. So he's, in my opinion, he's earned a roster spot. And then you got Lan Larison, who I think...
Joe, tell us what you think. Joe doesn't like this guy.
No,
I don't know why. I don't know what his problem
marginal.
is.
No, it just comes down to upside and talent. And if I have my choice of a 4th running back, there's nobody on this roster that you're going to talk me into outside of Lan Larison, because he can do everything. He can literally be a bell cow. He was the entire offense in UC Davis, and so for me, that's a lock. And then Brock Lamp is another one that, Mike, you and I wanted to talk about this one, because did you know that he was in college football last year the highest run blocking non-lineman?
No, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So
you see highlights on this guy, and they move him they get him to all kinds of different positions for blocking on the wing, up line, off line, a little bit split, offset, H-back, true fullback. They scheme plays that are designed for him to lead block.
Josh McDaniels is going to love this guy.
Josh McDaniels always uses a fullback.
Yeah.
I'm fully expecting this guy on, too.
You will see this guy split out wide. You'll see him in the slot. Like Mike said, you'll be seeing him in motion, double H-back. You'll see him in a lot of different situations.
Like true H-back kind of guy is what this guy is.
Yep. So I think that's, to me, the versatility there means he's a lock, and I'm guaranteeing he's going to play special teams. And so from the outside looking in, from a practice squad perspective, you got Travion Williams, you got Terrell Jennings, marginal talents that can fill in when you need them to, whether it's injury or whatever happens, right? So I think this position puts us at what? So we're at 5 running backs now.
So that would be 7 total on the roster.
Yeah, and then we got 2 practice squad players.
And we got 2, yeah. I did my math wrong on that one, but yeah, it's 2 equals 2.
Yeah, it's fine.
So it's 3. But as far as, and there's going to be curveballs on this thing. So some people are probably already wondering, all right, you already have 2 UDFAs in your running back room. How many UDFAs are you going to really go with right now?
Yep.
And I understand that it's a long shot, but it actually makes sense for what they need. Now, Mondre and Gibson are going to have their roles. Travion's going to fit in as an do-it-all kind of guy backing them up. And then Larison's going to basically be his understudy, but he's going to have value on special teams. He's a terrific athlete, and we need bodies in the backfield.
100%.
So I have Larison on the team 100%. I got Mondre, Travion Henderson, Antonio Gibson, Lan Larison, and Brock Lampy. Practice squad, Travion Williams, who we just signed, and Terrell Jennings, who's been around. He was on the practice squad last year as well. He's a pretty tough runner, so I think that they keep him on. It's going to be a good room when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where, with Mondre and Gibson last year, was it a strength? Was it a, kind of neutral position into could be a powerhouse, right? It could be it's loaded with talent now with Travion and Lan Larison, and you got the guys that are trying to prove. Mondre's got a fire lit under him. If he ends up playing this year, God knows what happens with his personal things going on. But I think he'll be okay too. But it just comes down to this room has a lot to prove, and all these guys want to play. I mean, Antonio Gibson came in last year, and he was like a cannonball out of a cannon sometimes, and I enjoyed watching him.
This team is going to want to run the football.
Yes.
They're going to want to pound the rock. You need horses for that. So I like going a little bit heavier in the running back room.
Agreed.
So, yeah, moving on to receivers. Right now, this is a completely loaded position right here.
A lot of tough cuts here.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it comes down to Diggs is a lock. Obviously, they paid him a lot guaranteed. He's got a lot of incentives and great team-friendly, and we've talked about this previously, incentive-laden contract. Matt Collins, he's a great vet. He's probably what we wanted more out of Kendrick Bourne. We'll see. Kendrick Bourne's been a little injury-ridden since he's been here. But so we have Matt Collins, who plays special teams. He's exactly what we need as far as veteran presence. Demario Douglas, absolute lock. I mean, this guy is 1 year away. Maybe this year is his big breakout year. Who knows? Kyle Williams, clearly we spent high draft capital on him. He's a lock. Jalen Polk, I think, because of the draft capital, he's got a little longer leash than probably a Javon Baker or a Booty. But who knows, right? This is where me and Mike are kind of splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
Does it?
And we both don't like. I have a spreadsheet, but like he probably has guys on his roster that I don't, and vice versa. Because for this particular projection, there's 12 guys total, like I said. I'm keeping 6 of them, and I even think that that's a stretch.
Yeah, and I think these last 2 ones are the most suspect of them all because you could see Kayshon Boutte taking one of these spots, whether it's Polk or Bourne.
Absolutely.
And Javon Baker as well. If he keeps beating Christian Gonzalez at OTAs, I mean, we're going to be talking about, is Javon Baker not cuttable?
I mean, I think Kendrick Bourne is very possibly could be a cut or a trade.
Right.
But I like him, and I like his energy.
I do too.
I think he's a culture guy.
He is.
I think he's good for the room. He's a vet. He's a great kid, and he's also a talented guy. He was hurt last year. He was coming off an ACL. But I think putting him in the room we have right now, it's kind of some vets right here. Diggs, Hollins, Douglas is a vet now, Kendrick Bourne. And then you got Jalen Polk and Kyle Williams. Jalen Polk, like you said, has to stay on there because he was a second round. He was the 37th pick. That's like almost a first rounder. If you cut that guy now, you're in big, big trouble. But the guys I have, those are the guys I have in. I have Efton Chism going to the practice squad if we can keep him. Somebody might.
I agree. Someone might nab him.
That was a tough one for me to call, but his skill set is a little bit redundant with the Demario Douglas, so I kept him on the practice squad to be called up at some point. And then I have Kayshon Boutte and Javon Baker. I have both of them getting traded for a late-round pick or a future consideration.
Yeah, this is a I don't want to cut him and get nothing kind of deal, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think Boutte flashed. I actually think he's a serviceable receiver, but just looking at this room as a whole, I think he's the odd man out. And Javon Baker, I like him, and I would have liked to see him stick around. But with the guys that we have here, he becomes a little bit redundant too now. I love Baker's size, like 6'2", 2-something or other.
Yep.
And Kyle Williams is not that. Kyle Williams is 5'11" and under 200 pounds. But Kyle Williams, he's going to be working as your X.
For sure.
They worked him mostly on the outside. He hasn't been playing too much inside, which I love because we need the boundary guys. I love
100%.
the boundary guys.
Yep.
He's a little undersized for the position, but there's other guys that have done that and been successful. A Brandon Cooks would come to mind. A Deion Branch would come to mind.
Yep.
Guys like that aren't post 6 foot, but still just with their separation, their route running, their breakaway ability, they're able to get that X going.
Not to mention year 1 Tank Dell. And Tank Dell is 5'9", by the way. He's not even 5'11".
Yeah, and they have him going all over the place.
Yeah, so this just comes down to, like Mike said, this is a lot of heated competition in this room. It's great. Diggs isn't even there. And even I was watching an interview with Demario Douglas yesterday. He said when Diggs shows up, he's bringing the dog out on everybody.
I'm
he
sure.
called it out. I mean, it's obvious, right? He's the guy who's going to light a fire under everyone and be like, come on, man, like, You can't, you got to bring it. And
I think he's going to be good for the room.
Yeah,
I think
we need it.
Guys,
we need it.
Diggs and Hollins, those are leaders, and they're pretty polarizing characters, but if they get everybody to buy in and move in the same direction, it'll be great. So that's what we have. We have some cuts here. We're cutting John Giles, Jeremiah Webb, and Demir Blankhamsey, yeah. So those guys, I wanted to put John Giles on the practice squad, but when I went through the rest of the numbers, I couldn't do it because he was on the practice squad all of last year, and he's got good size, and he's flashed occasionally in practice, but you can't keep everybody. So you got to get going with that guy.
Now you blink him, see him. Now you don't. Huh?
Look at
any dads out there?
Joe's got the dad jokes. We're good. Hey, family program.
That's it. That's what we're here for. We want your kids to laugh at this stuff too. Maybe.
So next up, the jury's out on what kind of laughs you and I are not getting.
Probably more on the looks category laughs.
We're getting laughed at by our wives.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll see about everybody.
All right. So what's the running tally at right now?
So what we have, so that was 6 receivers, so we're up to 13 on the roster, and then with Chism on the practice squad, that's 4 on the practice squad so far. So then we go right into tight ends. I'll just give a quick breakdown on the tight ends. Mm-hmm. We have 6 total on the roster. You got Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, who are the 2 vets. You got C.J. Dipray, who is the undrafted free agent that they signed. We still got Jaheim Bell that they drafted last year, and this other undrafted guy, Guy Scott Jr., or is it G. Scott Jr.?
We're going to go with Guy. I like Guy better.
I like Guy just because of the way it's spelled. And then we have Jack Westover, who was a holdover from the practice squad from last year. I have us keeping 3 of these guys. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper are locks. I think they were very good security blankets for Drake Maye, and I expect that to continue. I think both these guys are going to be productive. And I have C.J. Dipray, the undrafted guy, so that's my 3rd undrafted guy that I have on the roster.
The year of the UDFAs. Let's go.
And not only that, but these are Vrabel's guys. These are the current regime guys.
Yeah,
so I'm inclined,
they hold a little more weight.
Yeah,
right?
I'm inclined to take that with a little more stock than some of the other ones. But Dipray should have been drafted. He's a fantastic inline blocker, which is exactly what these other 2 guys aren't.
Yeah.
These guys are more move tight ends. Now they can inline block a little. They're just not great at it. Dipray is great at it.
Yeah, you got Brock Lamp, and then you got C.J. Dipray. I mean, we're running the football place. We're running it.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's going to be an impact. Like they can put him as a 3rd tight end and just grade the road. You know what I mean? And he flashes in the passing game. He needs route refinement and things like that. He needs to be a little bit more subtle with his movements. But if you get him down the seam and he gets a full head of steam, forget it. You're going to have to watch out.
I mean, this is what Josh McDaniels has done for years, guys. He will get you going on the run game. We're going to have a strong run game with strong pulling guards. We have a lot of great guards that can run block. We're going to have a fullback. We're going to have an inline tight end. And then we're going to hit you with the play action. And it might be Travion Henderson. It may be Brock Lamp. It might be C.J. Dipray. We've seen it over the years, right? These guys that just are these nameless guys to people that end up making big plays because we're setting you up with the run and then we're hitting you with the play action. This is a staple of the Josh McDaniels offense. So the guys like this could be unsung heroes in some games, and it's great.
I think so, yeah. So I have those 3 on practice squad. I'm trying to sneak Jaheim Bell onto the practice squad. I don't know if he's going to make it.
He's more of a move guy, right? He's like a joker, move kind of guy.
But he's got talent.
He does have talent.
He can run, he can catch, and this Guy Scott Jr. guy is in the same mold as him. They're basically giant slot receivers, but they're really good at what they do. So I have them both on the practice squad, and then I have Jack Westover getting cut because he's had his time here. So
are you taking the West over or the West under, Mike? Wow.
The West Nunder.
I retire. I'm done.
How about that?
I'm not a comedian anymore.
The West Nunder. That's what I'm taking. So yeah.
Not much to say here, right? I mean, this is pretty slam dunk. I mean, C.J. Dipray or Jaheim Bell or one of these guys, I could see him going either way. But I think your analysis, and I think the C.J. Dipray in line, we don't have anyone like him on the roster right now. It seems perfect, and that's why they got him. That's why they picked him up, right?
Exactly. So that's 3 tight ends. That brings our roster total to 16. The 2 practice squad tight ends, that brings the practice squad total to 6. And then we move on to the offensive tackle.
Yeah, the meaty boys. Let's go.
So what do you like, Joe? You want me to take it? You want it?
You got it. This is definitely your section.
My bread and butter?
Your bread and butter, for sure.
So for our tackle group, we have 6 tackles right now. Will Campbell, Morgan Moses, Caden Wallace, Marcus Bryant, DeMontre Jacobs, and Vidarian Lowe. Most of us know that Devontae Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe were our 2 starting tackles on the right and left side, respectively, for most of last season, and I'm pretty sure we all know how that worked out.
They had their tryout already.
So as far as I'm concerned, these guys shouldn't even be in the league based on how undisciplined they played last year. Those guys aren't making the team, and I'll tell you what we'll do with them. But what we do have is a good stable of good tackles. We have Will Campbell. He's locked in at left tackle. I don't care what anybody says. He's locked in at the left. Morgan Moses, he's your locked in right tackle. And then I got Caden Wallace sticking around on the roster, and Marcus Bryant, also our 7th-round pick this year. I think Caden Wallace and Marcus Bryant are perfect swing developmental guys.
Yep.
Wallace already has a year under his belt doing that. Marcus Bryant, I think, has tremendous potential, and he's just a mountain of a man. He's like 6'7", 340, something like that. And he played exclusively left tackle last year at Mizzou across from Armin Membu. So I think he's a good development swing, but with a concentration on the left side, just to have a backup there. But I think that's a good room, and you could switch these around however you like. I have Devontae Jacobs sticking around on the practice squad, and then I have Vidarian Lowe either getting cut or traded, and that's just a personal grudge that I have against that guy, because your
confidence is at an all-time Vidarian Low. You know,
they were both bad, but the way our tackles are constructed, Will Campbell's the guy. I don't care what anybody says. Morgan Moses is the man, and I think those two guys, they would be great developmental guys. So for that's 4 offensive tackles. That brings the roster total to 20. I got Jacobs on the practice squad, so that brings the practice squad to 7. And then Vidarian Lowe,
see you later, buddy.
You're out of here.
Yeah, he would make a great revolving door at a hotel.
Yeah, seriously.
He would
a turnstile.
He would just do awesome at that. He'd be great.
And then so we move on to the interior offensive line. I'll touch upon that.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is going to be one of the biggest battles in camp, specific to the left guard position. We have 11 guys in camp right now, just on the interior. I already said 6 on the outside, so that's 17 offensive linemen. You can't keep them all.
Nope.
I'm planning on trying to keep around 10 or something like that. So we got the 4 tackles are in, and then we have the interior offensive line, which consists of Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Cole Strange, Jared Wilson, Jack Conley, Layden Robinson, City So, Tyrese Robinson, Mekhi Butler, Wes Schweitzer, and Ben Brown. So it's a huge list, and out of those guys, who I have making is as follows: Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Cole Strange, Jared Wilson, and Jack Conley. I have Jack Conley.
Another UDFA, folks.
Another UDFA.
BC alum. The guy is a monster.
I have him making it. I have Layden Robinson and City, so hopefully we can sneak them onto the practice squad. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think they're both good developmental guys, so I'd like to hang on to them. And the rest of the guys are getting cut. Tyrese Robinson, Butler, Schweitzer, Ben Brown. Ben Brown played good for us in spots. He was thrown to an impossible situation last year, getting claimed off waivers from the Raiders, and then playing center for us 2 days later.
Right.
And then playing for basically the rest of the season. But he actually held his own. But as far as just the way that we are looking at it right now with the offensive line. So things that you can call set in stone, as far as I'm concerned, is Will Campbell, and then Bradbury at center, at least to start. Wilson's waiting in the wings, and then Mike Onwenu is obviously at right guard, and Morgan Moses obviously at right tackle.
Right. And that's what they opened up with at OTAs.
Yeah, so the biggest question is, who's playing left guard?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
That's the biggest competition, right?
And looking at all of these guys, you got the Wes Schweitzer, he's a veteran, he can play it, but it's a numbers game. Layden Robinson, City So, they can all play the position. I'm keeping Cole Strange on this roster just because he still does have upside. He tore his patella tendon, and he tried to come back too early last year. It didn't work out very well for him at all, but they cross-trained him on center, and he played well in the couple of games that he played at center. I'm not willing to give up on him. I like him at left guard, but his main competition is going to be Jack Conley.
I agree.
And that's why I want Jack Conley on this team. If you see this guy, I know I called the other guy a mountain of a man. This man is huge. He's 6'7". He's listed at like 330. I do not buy that.
I watched him next day. The rookie minicamp. He was next to Will Campbell, and they were doubling some guy, and you couldn't even see him. He was like they were behind two fridges.
Imagine those two guys grading the road on the left-hand side.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm feeling it. And then Jared Wilson, who is going
to be a super athletic
RAS freak. 9.91. I think he was on the RAS out of 10.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it appeals to me. Jack Colling's a different player than Cole Strange. Cole Strange is more agile. Jack Colling's more of a road grader. But like I said, we're going to be running the football, so I want road graders. And if you have that on the left side of the line, those huge mountains, I think it's a value. So I would like Jack Colling to win the job straight up. But that's what I have.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think we'll see this shake out throughout the season. I don't think you're going to get a lot of these big changes early on. I think you'll see Jared Wilson get folded in because of injuries, or maybe Bradbury's performance isn't great in the first few weeks.
Oh, we have no idea how that's going to go.
So, but I think this is what Mike said. The starting lineup will probably be what it is, because we need sure things and we need veteran presence, especially now with Will Campbell. He's a rookie, but he's obviously started a lot of games at LSU, but you don't want to put too many new pieces in this line. You want tried and true things, even if they're not the most high peak talent and don't have the same ceilings, whatever. We need stability at this position. Absolutely. So I think this is great, Mike. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think, practice squad gives us another two players, City So, Layden Robinson. I think the other guys are, on the outside looking in, like you said.
It's a numbers game, and some of these guys are marginal, And Garrett Bradbury, we don't know how long. He struggled in Minnesota, so we don't know how long.
They couldn't wait to get rid of Minnesota. So,
and Will Campbell is a stud left tackle, and he will be that for the Patriots. And I'll bang that drum until I'm proven wrong.
I agree.
So,
all right. So what's the tally at now?
So the tally we have, that was 5 interior guys we're keeping. That brings the roster total to 25. And then I got Layden Robinson and City So on the practice squad, so that brings the practice squad to 9.
All right, so we're roughly halfway there on the active roster. So now we got...
Well, that was the whole offense, so we just did the whole offense.
Yeah, whole offense.
So now we're moving right on to the defensive side of the ball, and this is when things get a little spicy.
I love this section, the interior defensive line.
Joe, why don't you take it away?
It's a treasure. It really is a treasure. So another big thing from OTAs that we didn't bring up, Christian Barmore was there. And he's fully cleared. He looked great. I mean, just seeing him out there is a huge win. There was a little bit of chatter between our last podcast and this one between, I think it was Milton Williams getting interviewed, where these guys basically make it a competition to see who can show up first, who can work harder.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is just, it's all this feel-good stuff you want to hear,
Those guys are both getting paid a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
They don't necessarily have to do that.
No.
The fact that they do is huge.
Yep. And so you got Barmore with a massive chip on his shoulder. Milton Williams, obviously, heroics in the Super Bowl, massive contract. What does he have to prove, right? He's already proved it. Well, I mean, these guys just clearly want to win, and they want to push each other. And then you got Keon White, who I think he's a darling right now as far as Patriots Twitter. Everyone sees him as, all right, you got these two guys in the middle. What can Keon White do?
Yeah,
and I think
don't sleep on him.
Don't sleep on him. I think he can have 9-10 sacks easily this season. And then as far as the next guys in the active roster, obviously we have a huge investment in Joshua Farmer. High hopes for him. I'm not sure. He's got an unknown reason for not being at OTAs right now. And then Kairos Tonga, who I think is a lock myself based on what he offers and what we have as far as depth goes. And then it gets into practice squad and some cuts. So you got Jeremiah Farms, who I think is a clear practice squad player based on his upside. And then you got Javari Ritzy, Isaiah, and your boy Jacqueline Roy.
Jacqueline Roy.
Jacqueline.
These are my guys. Those are my guys right there.
Yeah, so I think this is right. I think we brought in Tonga. This was the new regime bringing in Tonga, right? So he's got probably the most chance to stick around as far as those last people. And this is a clear strength. Now, it doesn't go without question. We don't know what we have as far as, run stopping ability, pass rushing ability. With Milton Williams, obviously we do, but we need to see Christian Barmore healthy. We need to see what Keon White can do with this new interior line depth. And then Joshua Farmer's a rookie, but clearly his high hopes on him. Kairos Tonga, I think, is a depth piece, but a great one. So,
he's a run stopper.
Yeah, he's a clear run stopper. So I think this specific position has the juice that we need to really be that feared front that we haven't had since what? Since the boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
Since Donta Hightower and these guys.
And Kyle Van Noy.
Right? And so, yeah, what do you think, Mike?
I think it's a good group. I think it's a deep group. I always talk about you have to have a stable of linemen on both sides, but especially on defense, because you need to rotate those guys out. They need to blow now and again. So I love the combination of these guys. Keon White, we have him in here as an interior guy. We know he's going to play a bunch on the edge too, but he's going to slide all over the formation. So for the purpose of this, we're keeping him on the inside. But if you have, and Joshua Farmer, we've talked ad nauseum about how we think that's a great pick. So you got those four guys, Barmore, Williams, White, and Farmer, as a great pass rush combination option. The thing, and Karis Tonga will be the early down guy, but the thing that people don't know about Milton Williams, before last year's breakout, he was known as a run stopper before that. He was a run stopping DT for an early down DT for the Eagles for a couple of years before he broke out this past season.
And they kind of switched up his position a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to play on these downs and do this.
So the point is, I mean, yeah, like he can do it all. If people think he's just a pass rusher, he's not. But so for the defensive line, so that's 5 interior defensive line. That's 5 more guys. That brings the roster total to 30. And then I have Jeremiah Farms on the practice squad. That brings the practice squad total to 10. So we're moving right along here. And the Wilfred Penne guy, I believe he's from France. He's the one that has the exemption because he's an overseas player. So I got him on the practice squad because it's a free roster spot. Why not? Why not
Take
just
a flyer
work with the guy? So we have him there. So that's the interior. And then we're going over to the defensive edge. What do you like about this, Joe?
Yeah, I think this is where we, with the offseason and with the draft, I really think we strengthened a position where we didn't really have an immediate answer, right? This league is all about you need to have a situational pass rusher, if nothing else. The do-it-all guys, there's not many of those. Set the edge, they can stop the run, and they can get out. Like, those guys don't exist on every team. So at the very least, you need a situational player. We've had Anthony Jennings. He's great at getting after it. He's great at making open field tackles. He makes plays. But now you add in a guy like Harold Landry, who's tried and true, proven, variable guy. You got Clavon Chason. So he started with the Raiders, and he's another guy that can get after it. And then you got Braden Swinson.
Who's a steal.
Who's a complete steal. And why did he slide? Is it character concerns? Was it people thought his interviews weren't great?
They said he butted heads with the coaches last year, but it's like, what is that?
Right.
What does that mean? Was he disciplined? No, there was no discipline. So
but he was a stud player. So, I mean, yeah, you need some of those guys. You need some disruptive guys that are going to speak up to people, and I'm fine with it. So I think this could, with the combination of our interior line, these guys could really stand out. Someone is going to get single-teamed or left open entirely based on who we have in the middle, and so I feel like these guys could really stand out. Someone's going to have 9 or 10 sacks. We definitely didn't do great in sacks last year. We were the worst in the league, but I think we've made a clear statement on this side of the ball to say, we're going to get you, and we're going to get you either from the middle or from the outside. Wherever you want to choose to play against us, we're going to play to your weakness, which is going to be, one-on-ones, and let's face it, sometimes 0-on-ones.
It's going to be tough because we're going to generate so much pass rush from the interior that, like you just said, these guys are going to be able to eat on the edge. Again, Keon White, I believe, will stay on the edge on early downs a lot of the times, along with a combination of Harold Landry and Anthony Jennings. Those are your early down guys. Now, Landry does have some pass rush skill, so they'll use him in that role. Anthony Jennings is mostly a run stopper and an edge setter, so I expect him on early downs, and then I expect Chason and Braden Swinson to come in on third down and just pin their ears back and just go. There's one guy, Elijah Ponder, that's super high on him. He set all kinds of records at whatever small school that he went to, so I'm keeping him on the practice squad. And then we're cutting Truman Jones. So we're keeping 4 edge guys. And again, with the caveat, if that sounds light, that some of these interior guys can slide out to the edge as well, namely Keon White. You can see Milton Williams on a 3-5 technique. You can see Joshua Farmer out there too. So the mix and match combination with the interior and the edge, it allows for a very deep group. So we have 4 defensive edge, so that brings the roster total to 34. I got Ponder on the practice squad, that brings us to 11. Truman Jones, you're getting cut, buddy. Sorry. So that brings us right to our linebackers. And this is a very interesting topic, and it's probably going to be quite polarizing.
Yes, for sure.
The way that I'm philosophizing this. And it's all going to tie in when we get to the rest of the roster. But we currently have 6 linebackers on the roster: Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis, Jack Gibbons, Monty Rice, Jelani Tavai, and Cam Riley. Now, I only have Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis, and Jack Gibbons making the roster. That's 3 guys. That's 3 off-the-ball linebackers. I have Monty Rice on the practice squad because he is a Mike Vrabel darling. He played for him in Tennessee. They really like that guy. I have Jelani Tavai getting probably traded, but maybe even cut, because he is just not a fit for what they're trying to do on defense. He's the bigger thumper, downhill type of guy.
And we don't do that anymore.
And we're looking more streamlined as far as some of the guys getting smaller and faster to be able to cover in space. He just doesn't fit the mold. And then we're cutting Cam Riley, who's just a practice body. But the linebacker room is light for a reason that I will get to as we move forward in this projection here.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, Mike, when you look at, the things coming up here where, you have some depth in other places and some people playing.
I keep teasing it.
Yeah, playing multiple positions, right? I think it makes a lot of sense because it's very specific, the scheme that Mike Vrabel is trying to put in place as far as the speed versus big bodies. We're not going to have I'm trying to think, Mayo. We're not going to have these guys that are just, in the middle of the field, making 1 or 2 reads and then getting downhill and making a tackle.
Jawan Bentley.
Yeah.
That's why he's not here anymore.
Right. So you're not going to have those guys anymore. This is a defense predicated on speed, predicated on getting after it and covering receivers, right? Receivers, tight ends, you name it.
And yeah, normally, so what happens here is with those 3 linebackers, that brings the roster total to 37, and then Monty Rice in the practice squad, that brings that total to 12. And normally we would go in order and do the cornerbacks next, but because of my tie-in
we'll skip over corner for now.
Yeah, we'll get back to corner. I just want to talk about the safeties. We have a bunch of safeties. We've got 8 total safeties: Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Craig Woodson, Marcus Epps, Jalen Hawkins, Marte Mapu, and Del Pettis and Josh Minkins. Now, this is an incredibly intriguing group, and I'm going to tell you why. It's based on the defense that we're going to be running, and it's just very simple. To me, it's very simple. Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, and Marte Mapu, if he actually stays healthy and get on the field, those guys are today's hybrid linebacker. Those guys are going to be in the box. They're going to be covering up the tight end. They're going to be complementing the middle linebacker. So you're basically going to have, it's going to be, and I can't wait to see if I'm right or wrong about this, it's going to be a big nickel. So you're going to have 3 safeties out there.
Yep.
And you might only have 1 off the ball linebacker depending on how they align, but probably 2. So you're going to have a deep safety and then those 2 guys playing closer to the line. So their role effectively becomes linebacker. And these guys are always going to be on the field, Duggar and Peppers, and they can do that job at a high level. So this is why I say that. This is why I'm keeping so many safeties. I'm keeping Duggar, Peppers, Craig Woodson, our rookie we just
and that this tips their hand a little bit to why they drafted Craig Woodson.
Exactly.
This is the reason, right? Because Craig Woodson's big thing was out of college, leader, very vocal on the field,
versatile
captain, versatile, plays all over the field, plays in the box, in the back, in the slot, plays on the boundary. He plays everywhere. So they clearly drafted him for a reason.
Absolutely.
And now you got Duggar and Peppers who can play their natural aligned positions, which is in the box. Playmakers.
Tough times matching up with tight ends these days. Neither of them can play center field. I mean, they can do some split safety stuff when there's 2 guys back there, but neither of them can play center field, and that's why I'm keeping Craig Woodson, Marcus Epps, and Jalen Hawkins. All of these guys are free safeties, and I think we're going to need all of them as far as a rotation. And not to mention, this is going to be the meat and potato. This is going to be a big part of our special teams. Woodson, Epps, Hawkins, and to a degree Peppers, they'll all play special teams as well. These are the type of guys that you need for special teams, like the corners and the safeties. That's how they make the roster. And speaking of this roster, there's so many safeties I'm keeping, putting Del Pettis onto the practice squad. Now, he made the team as an undrafted free agent last year, and he played well, both on defense and in special teams. I would like to sneak him on the practice squad. There's just too many guys that I like here that I want to keep around at safety. And then we're cutting Josh Minkins. who is a camp body.
So in the quarters defense, Mike, who do you see as the four coverage guys?
Well, it's going to be your boundary dudes, and then it's going to be one of the free safeties, and then it's going to have to be one of the other safeties.
Peppers or something, yeah. Yep.
And one of those guys is going to take the strong side and take the quarter on the tight end side, so he can defend that quadrant, and the other guy's probably going to get back a little bit for the slot.
That makes sense.
So that's the way I see it. When they do quarters and they do just four men back there, you're going to have at least one of these guys back there. You just don't want to play those particular guys at center field.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my only problem with it. But so that brings us, that's 6 safeties I'm keeping. I know it's a lot, but I'm doing it.
But they're dual purpose, right? Like you said.
Exactly.
They're gonna fill into linebacker-esque positions and big nickel, like you said.
Special teams and stuff. So I think it's a good number. Joe, you want to talk a little about the corner?
Yeah, I mean this is almost like quarterback, right? It's like these are locked in, loaded positions where we have, for once in a long time, the best corner duo, I'd say, in the league, or with the top 3. I don't know, name a better duo.
It's a good one.
And so tried and true veterans now. Gonzo's a veteran. Carlton Davis is a long time a veteran. Marcus Jones now is your third option. Looks a lot better than Marcus Jones as your second option.
Yeah.
And he brings special teams juice as well. Then you got Alex Austin, which I think is a great compliment to both these guys. And then Kobe Minor, I think, like you said before, Vrabel picked him for a reason, right? Vrabel picked him as a 7th-round pick. We didn't see it coming. We think he's mainly a special teams guy. And then for practice squad guys, Marcellus Dial, Isaiah Bolden, I think those are...
I'm hoping we can get them.
Yeah, I think those are great guys for the practice squad. Bolden flashed quite a bit. And then I think there's a lot of cut candidates as well. So you got DJ James, Brandon Crossley, Jordan Polk, Miles Battle. I mean, it's a loaded position. You have riches like most teams would dream of. And so this position, to me, whether it shakes out to be the exact guys we have on our list or not, I mean, I think Kobe Minor...
That one's a tough one.
That's a tough one, but...
Again, I only put him on there because he's a Vrabel guy. It's
yeah.
The only reason, you could totally change him out with Dial or Bolden.
Exactly. He could be a practice squad guy, too. But I think this position doesn't need as much discussed because when it comes down to it, we're taking your number 1 and your number 2 guy out of the game. Yeah. I mean, it's just flat out. So, yeah, I feel
Marcus
good.
Jones is going to have a big season in the slot. I'm looking to see him really take a step up this year.
Yep.
So now we're keeping 5 corners. The roster is up to 48. And we're keeping 2 practice squad guys, Dial and Bolden. So the total practice squad right now is at 15. And then we can finish off with the specialist here. And the specialist is not a heck of a lot to talk about with them. We drafted on Andy Borregales,
who went 4 for 4 yesterday.
Yeah,
in OTAs.
Looks like he's got a big leg. Bryce Behringer is a very steady, solid punter. They love this Julian Ashby fella, the long snapper that replaced Joe Cardona, which I thought was a questionable pick, but they apparently really like this kid. And then I have Brendan Schooler listed as the specialist because basically that's just what he is. So, Joe, do you have anything to add on any of these guys?
No, I think we have our kicker, hopefully, of the future. And long snapper, to your point, clearly he's a team favorite. And he was actually on a lot of teams' lists from what I read at post-draft.
Yeah,
so
that's why they drafted him. They thought they would have to overpay for him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think the roster shakes out really well. There's still a lot of cap space, guys. There's like $68 million in cap space. We could see more signings based on injuries, based on who's available, based on a million things, right?
Well, I have the roster. The total roster is going to be 52 guys, not 53 guys, because I think there's going to be an inevitable waiver wire claim or pickup on final cut down day. So I like to just keep that there, one extra roster spot. But then I got John Parker Romo, the other kicker. I am keeping him on the practice squad, which fills out the practice squad. So there's 16 guys on the practice squad, just to push the rookie kicker. That's all. Just to provide some competition for him.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up the roster breakdown, guys. So, yeah, I think Mike and I are both really, really high on this roster. I think the OTAs will continue to shake out. We'll continue to see tidbits all over the place. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a great first 6 episodes. We are working with Pat's Planet on next week's collab, so stay tuned on that. We're gonna
shout out Pat's Planet.
Shout out to Pat's Planet. We're working with some other, I won't spoil these, but we're working on some really juicy interviews as well. And I won't say any more about that, but potentially some UDFAs collaborations.
Don't spoil it all.
I know. But anyway, so thank you guys for tuning in. It's been great. I want to thank the whole community. Savage Sports has been a big proponent of our kind of rise here. Always retweeting our stuff, always, lending an open ear and some suggestions to us, as well as Foxborough Fellas, as well as Pat's Planet, as well as you name it. I mean, the list goes on and on. So thank you guys for tuning in. Follow us on at Joe LFG Pats Pod, at Mike LFG Pats Pod, and at LFG Pats Pod as well on X. And we're on Instagram. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook. You name it. We're everywhere. So, yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting everywhere.
We're getting everywhere, boys and girls and kids. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much, LFG, baby.
Let's go.